Alright, hello everyone. Okay, so I'm here now in my office. Um, my office is orange, it's brown, reddish, maroon, and yellow. So it's sort of yellow ochre color, which I don't like. So I'm going to repaint it at some point. I'm going to do a whole redecoration thing at some point, as soon as I get some money. But this is my office. So this is where I've been going now for the last couple of weeks, and where I will be for the next 4 years probably, working on things. If I bike here, it's biking distance. So for the first 5 minutes, I usually sit in my office with my shirt off, so I can get rid of all that sweat. And then it gets freezing cold in here. So all my clips are cutting out, which I apologize, and so a lot of things that I am saying are not getting through. I don't know what's wrong with my web camera. I always have webcam problems. You guys know this, so I apologize. So as far as my work goes, right now for the last about in June, May and June, I worked on a paper on the swine flu, and I was looking at um, this theorist. His name is Michel Foucault, and his theory of governmentality. So how governments use, let's say, a certain disaster, a certain event as a tactic for gaining power over their population. And so I wrote a paper on that, and I tried to get it published. I didn't try to get it published. I wrote a paper, but it had some major flaws in it. And so I'm hoping when school starts, I will find someone who's interested in working on this paper with me, that I can get it published. And so now I'm working on a paper. I've been going out to New Orleans, collecting surveys for this professor I work for, Dr. Weil. And I think he's probably going to be my advisor. He seems like an alright guy. He's a little, what's the word? He can't multitask at all. Like, you have to sit down and have sort of a one-line conversation with him. You have to talk about one thing, and then when that thing's talked about, you move on to something else. But it's nice because it's very thorough. So he's a real nice guy, and he studies democracy. He studies exactly what I came here to study. So it's really kind of odd because I just happened to stumble into this project, and yet it's literally the project that I wanted to come to grad school and examine. So what he wants to look at is a bunch of community tactics that have been used in fighting displacement, fighting gentrification, fighting the things that have been occurring with redevelopment in New Orleans. And so I have been spending the last month now researching things on gentrification. And gentrification, just so in case you don't know what that word means, it's the process by which lower income neighborhoods become increasingly invaded, I don't know if I want to use that word, by upper and middle income, usually white people, who move into the neighborhood or develop a property, charge higher rents, creating a rent gap, and then poor people can no longer afford to live in the neighborhood, so they are increasingly pushed out of the neighborhood, which are forcibly kicked out of the neighborhood, and that's the displacement factor. So I am right now trying to examine. I'm trying to find something that I can use. Like I said, all this data we've been collecting to put this into some kind of study that I can use to present some kind of point for. And I haven't quite. I've been doing this now for a couple of weeks now, and I haven't really found anything yet. I know a lot about gentrification now, and how the process works, and who's getting displaced and things like that. But I'm not exactly sure what I can come up with to fit this to this data I'm working on. So I'm thinking, because a lot of the survey questions we asked were things involving how people felt about where they live now, how much assistance they receive from the government, the safety of their neighborhoods, how much do they trust people of different ethnic backgrounds, that kind of thing. So I'm wondering if and the redevelopment is not even, obviously, in New Orleans. There are places where the population is increasing because it's returning homeowners, and there's places where the population is increasing because it's been redeveloped. Like, the public housing has been torn down, and they've redeveloped the property. So I'm wondering, maybe somehow opinions differ about maybe the future of New Orleans, or how people feel in the neighborhoods or something that I can study. So I'm working on that right now. But so I'm just reading a lot about gentrification and journaling it into this sketch pad I have, so I can try to put it together into something. But school starts in 2 weeks also. So when school starts, you know, I should be getting a lot more assistance on all this, hopefully. So yeah, that's what I spend all day doing. That and trying to meet people and get lead. Since I live here now. In a very conservative, not too small town, but whatever. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I do think I can do a lot of really good research here and really make a name for myself and do something and go on to bigger and better places. So I'm really excited to be here actually. I don't particularly like living in this town, but I'm pretty excited. After this healthcare debate, Jesus Christ, now I'm partially terrified of living in this town. But I think I can do a lot of really good work here, so I'm kind of excited. Yeah, so today on my agenda is more gentrification literature, and then I'm going to read a few chapters out of this statistics manual that I haven't read in a very very long time. So I'm refreshing myself on stats. Yeah, so that's my day. So hope you all have a nice day as well, and go to those healthcare debates, please. Okay, you know what? Here's a thought. Here's a theory. If the video's gonna cut out in like 3 minutes anyway, which means the last 3 minutes of me talking you probably didn't hear anyway. I'm just gonna let the video run until 10 minutes, and that will probably increase the amount of time that actually gets downloaded. Okay, so while that's doing that, I'm gonna do this. I now have another monitor. I'm so happy about that. So now I can put the writing on this monitor, and I can talk on this. I can read things on this monitor. Oh yes, and then I read that article on the history of gentrification in New Orleans.